want to bring people together. We want to foster this more inclusive industry because that's going to benefit everybody.
Regardless of who you are, unfortunately, the on the belt does not really have gender or anything like that. We do need to make sure we focus on making sure our mines are efficient, they're safe, and they're productive as well.
Mining is evolving, yet one question remains persistent. Are women advancing at the pace the industry claims to support? Today we look at what it really means to move from global networks to local empowerment. And we're going to have that conversation with Lucy Crane and Mogaleadi Seabela. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. Let's start off and look at how you're viewing the theme for this year's Mining Indaba. So the theme is Stronger Together, Progress through Partnerships. From your vantage points, what does this theme mean for women in mining? Let's start off with you, Mogaleadi.
I think it just emphasizes the fact that none of us can do it all by themselves, be it the government, private sector, communities. If we want to change the livelihood of our communities, it will have to take partnership. And from our perspective as women in mining South Africa, that is the role that we are also, bringing in as a partner towards shifting the industry to a more inclusive and safer industry.
Lucy, your thoughts?
Yeah, building on that from a kind of tangible perspective for what we try and do at Women in UK as well, Women in Mining UK, is very much we want to bring people together, we want to foster this more inclusive industry because that's going to benefit everybody, but we can't do that alone. We need partners to support us at universities, we need partners to support us with money to enable us to actually put on these events and bring people together. Partnership is just so crucial to all of it. And coming back to your original point, the reason we're all doing this is because we want to see that inclusive industry with women at the heart of it. And we can't do that on our own.
You were appointed the Managing Director for Women in Mining UK last year. What were your key priorities and why?
So I was very lucky to come in, and Women in Mining UK is actually pretty well established. We're coming into our 20th anniversary, which is amazing. So there's a very stable foundation to build on. We have a brilliant team of volunteers. We actually have 56 volunteers, I think, at the moment. And so it's not like I've had to come in and make massive changes. Rather, we're just trying to grow from these footings that we have. And a real passion of mine is really how can we get the next generation of people inspired by the industry and want to join it, and how can we make sure that it's an industry that we feel comfortable trying to encourage them into. So we have partnerships with universities where we sponsor scholarships for female students to do master's programs. We partner with companies to do internship schemes as well, because as you know, it's really hard to get experience if you haven't got experience on your CV. So that's been really successful. And we actually have 10 student chapters in UK universities now, where we can support them with some funding to put on field trips, speakers to come and talk in their departments, and all of those initiatives are really helping us to kind of try and build that pipeline of young people coming into the sector.
Mogaleadi, I was reading about you a little. So you're a recent Women in Mining 100 winner, and you've also taken up a major leadership role for Women in Mining South Africa. Let's talk about how your personal experiences have brought you to this moment, but also how you believe we can get working with other associations around the world.
The recognition of WIM 100 has brought me very fulfilling experiences, and it's a recognition of the work we do in our small spaces in the industry as women in mining. And I mean, coming from a rural village, I would have not thought of this opportunity. And it's about women, recognizing each other and also showcasing the work that you do across the world. And it's an amazing experience that brings women from across the globe, across Africa, and recognizing the work they do. And for me personally, it has opened me up mentally to those wealth of opportunities that exist in South Africa, in Africa, and across the globe for women in mining. And I'm excited for the upcoming WIM 100 cohort, and I'll be definitely submitting my nominations of women who are really pushing boundaries and truly, truly owning this new shift that we are seeing in mining.
Oftentimes we talk about whether there are enough women in the mining industry, and perhaps the way we ask the question is wrong because we may not understand what's going on behind the scenes. From your experiences as you progress through your career, what has been some of the moments that can help us understand what is going on with the pipeline, i.e. we have women who study mining engineering or form of engineering and want to pursue the industry, but then somewhere as they progress through the system, they either fall off or they don't get the support they need. Take me through your experience of what you're seeing with the pipeline from university up until perhaps even executive level.
Yeah, and I'll share based on my personal experiences. So, I mean, how I came about mining was in a very random manner where I found a brochure from Mintech which was talking about careers in mining, and this is, I think, back in 2003-4, and that was when I heard about mining for the first time, and that in itself can be a gap. I mean, if you've got people not coming from mining towns, they may not know about the career. But we've done great work in making sure there's information shared around careers and opportunities in mining with schools, and we empower them to join the industry. But like you said, there is a leak where we've got great representation at entry-level roles. We've got young professionals really eager to come in and work, and they don't stay. And this is because of the existing barriers to progression of women in mining and promotion of women. So I always say we are very well mentored, and mentoring is really sharing advice and saying this is what would work for you. But what's lacking, and the reason we're seeing a gap in senior roles, is because there isn't enough sponsorship of women. And in my opinion, that's where the gap remains. And I think as industry and partners, we can put together hands and heads to really close that gap and make sure the representation is equitable across the value chain as well as across different levels in the industry.
Lucy, how do you view it?
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that as well, I think one of the things that we've really tried to do with the WIM 100 initiative, there's that saying that you can't be what you can't see, and actually having those visible role models who aren't necessarily always CEOs and founders, but are actually people doing amazing things working on site in different parts of the world, really does, by sharing those stories, people can read them and think, maybe I can do that. And I think we really can't underestimate the power of actually having those role models and having that visibility. But we still then need to make space for people to progress. And, there aren't enough women in the mining industry at the moment. I think the mining industry faces a huge challenge. We've got to, there's so much rhetoric now around critical minerals. How are we going to provide them? What's the impact of that going to be? And actually, if we're trying to tackle a really big challenge by, ramping up production, finding new mineral deposits, we need all the best brains working on this that we possibly can. So obviously gender is just one form of diversity, but how can we open it up so that actually there's a psychologically safe place to work and we can get the best out of everybody? Because even if we're being cynical, that's just going to make better business.
If the executives who are here at the Mining Indaba are actually wanting to be serious about what you spoke about, which is sponsorship, do we have a shared definition of what sponsorship really looks like in practice from a corporate perspective? How do you imagine it if you had to have an executive say to you, Mogaleadi, I looked at your interview and I think you're right?
Yeah, where do we start?
Where do we start? What does it look like?
And I think that's where we would have to start with defining what we mean, what we actually mean in practice. And for me, it really means giving women equal opportunity and not waiting for them to prove themselves to be, fully qualified and tick all these boxes, because unfortunately, if you haven't occupied a role, you may not know if you'll perform in it or not until you are given that opportunity. So for me, sponsorship would be saying, we recognize your potential, and with support, we believe you'll be able to perform in this area. Here's an opportunity. Are you interested? And I don't think there's many of those type of conversations happening, especially around women and their careers. Most of the time you will hear them say you are told you're not ready, and we don't know what scale is being used to measure readiness. You need this training, you need to be mentored. And unfortunately, we do spend a lot of effort and time in trying to capacitate ourselves with academic education, with, different programs to really try to get ready. But if the organization is not intentional, if the leadership is not ready, perhaps they are the ones not ready to give opportunity and truly sponsor women. And I always say, allow us to fail. Give us a chance to fail, and let's see how it goes.
Lucy, what does sponsorship look like for Women in Mining UK, if you had to look at it from your perspective?
I think it's proactively creating those opportunities for people. And that's, again, where I think your network becomes so important. And what I see with Women in Mining UK, but, look at the breakfast event with WIMSA this morning as well. The power of these networks is bringing people together. And yes, that's women, but actually we need male allies and sponsors as well, because more often than not, they are the people who are in those decision-making positions. And, we want to bring everybody on this journey with us. It's not an exclusionary thing. I genuinely believe that, we are much better together. It's coming back to that theme of partnerships again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Are there misconceptions when people hear that there's a partnership between a UK-based association and then African women? Do you find that there are misconceptions in terms of how people understand how that could work?
I believe there is, and depending on who you're talking to. So there may be criticism around us as WIMSA partnering with the likes of WIM UK, who may, in other people's eyes, not have the full perspective of who a woman in mining looks like and what their challenges are. You'll hear about, corporate north, corporate south conversations, and our needs being different. But the common goal remains. We all want the same thing. And I think that's a lack of maybe knowledge around what the partnership is aiming to achieve. And I think that's our role, to really truly educate and continue to strengthen our partnership around mentoring and ensuring that we open opportunities beyond boundaries and just allowing women to take up opportunities anywhere in the world.
Lucy, let's clear up that narrative right now, because it's all about educating and learning from each other. What does this partnership mean?
To me, it really means learning from each other. We work in different contexts, but this is a global industry. And actually, how can we help so with initiatives like WIM 100, for example, how can we showcase what people are doing in different parts of the world, help amplify those voices, give people a platform in different parts of the world? I'd hate to ever think that people thought we were coming in and trying to impose ourselves, because that's really, really not our intention. We want to come, listen, see if we can support. We are so much stronger together. And if there's that narrative of women trying to tear other women down, that is not going to benefit anybody. And I think we're quite aligned on, we are stronger together.
Yeah, and I also just like to add to that, say, this partnership is also about recognizing the work that women are doing. And as you know, sometimes prophets are not celebrated in their own villages. And it may take that recognition from, across the borders to say, oh, we've got this talent here. And so it's really around recognition as well. And that's something that we truly, truly celebrate as far as the WIM 100 UK is concerned.
Let me stay with you for my next question. Is there something that you find unique about African mining that you believe that UK-based partners would need to understand? And what are those things? I mean, could it be infrastructure, regulation? How do you see it from your perspective?
My perspective is the people. I've traveled a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody does it like we do in Africa, in South Africa.
How do we do it?
We do it like we do, magic. The diversity of thought, I mean, we can work together as Africans, regardless of the differences we have. And I think we are one nation that is so different in so many ways, but we always come back together. And when we do that, that demonstrates the power of partnership beyond. I mean, I always say when you talk culture and mining, we're talking people coming from different walks of life, firstly, but they do want to cultivate one culture of mining safely. That takes a lot, and that's where diversity of thought, ideas, comes into play. And I think that's the benefit and the distinguishing factor, if you like, to people coming outside of Africa.
If you're to look at the road ahead, when you and I have the conversation in a year from now, what are some of the ways in which we approach some of the challenges that we need to then add in that dose of realism and manage our expectations? What is that one thing we sort of need to balance? Because yes, we've got all of this ambition, we want to tick this off, but then we also have this that we need to consider. What would be those things that need to be considered?
Just a small question then. I think for me, it's the fact that we're all volunteers with Women in Mining in the UK, and I believe with WIMSA as well. And it's balancing all of our ambitions and these great ideas that we've got with our ability to deliver that alongside our day jobs. And that's definitely been a steep learning curve for me. It's kind of tempering my expectations. And coming back to the root of this conversation again, that's where partnerships become key, because that really allows us to move things forward much faster than we would if we were doing it on our own.
What's a non-negotiable when we talk about these partnerships, especially as we try to help women and give them that sustained support? What's a non-negotiable?
Buying into the shared vision that we're doing this because we want to make the industry a more inclusive place, and that's better for everybody. That's a non-negotiable for me. And it sounds simple, but not everybody does share that vision, or at least proactively share that vision.
Yourself?
I think it's just value. What value are we creating? At the end of the day, we want an industry that is productive, profitable, and continuing to change the lives of society in general. So regardless of who you are, unfortunately, the on the belt does not really have gender or anything like that. We do need to make sure we focus on making sure our mines are efficient, they're safe, and they're productive as well. So for me, that is also a non-negotiable.
Okay. I'm going to ask a similar question that I asked Lucy, but I'm going to change it slightly here for you. If we had to sit a year from now and we're having the same conversation around women in mining, what would put a smile on your face to give you the confidence that what we were talking about, people are listening, and there's some changes, there's some movement? What is the one thing that you're paying attention to?
I actually think we planted a seed for that today with the Deputy Minister of the Department of Minerals and Petroleum today around launching a leadership program for women in mining. And I think a year from now, we would need to have clarity on what are the deliverables that we are going to measure. As a regulator, who's going to be held accountable in the mines around delivering those, and whose KPI is it sitting on, so that we move away from just thinking it's you do it if you can or a nice to have, but really a business mandate that we all agree to, because we want an industry that is inclusive. So a year from now, I would like us to just have clarity on what are we driving towards. Is it a number in representation of women, or is it a number of women on boards or an executive, and how are we tracking based on the seeds that we've planted today in a collaboration with the MQA and other organizations to truly make sure that we sponsor women. Yeah.
Lucy, as we wrap up the conversation, what would you say is the one thing that women need from a Women in Mining UK perspective?
I think it's that visibility and that recognition. We've got, it's a very different context in the UK. We don't have operating mines in the same way, but we have a lot of finance, we have a lot of legal, and we still have a lot of the same challenges, even if they come up slightly differently. So I think it's that visibility and that sponsorship.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time. For more mining insights, you can go to miningindaba.com.